In the annals of history, the name Cleopatra resonates as a symbol of beauty, power, and intrigue. But beyond the tales of queenship and alliances, there lies a lesser-known side of Cleopatra's life, a side shrouded in mystery and controversy. In this video, we'll delve into some of the most eyebrow-raising anecdotes from Cleopatra's life. Some of them may even leave you scarred, for Cleopatra was supposedly very skilled in a certain form of lovemaking. She was referred to as Mariocaine by the Greeks, a title that literally meant she who opens wide for 10,000 men. The legendary accounts suggest that she performed acts of intimacy with 100 men in a single night, and it's believed that she utilized her proficiency in this area to entice Julius Caesar. Cleopatra's origins likely involve a degree of inbreeding. Her father, King Ptolemy VII, is documented as her parent. The specific identity of Cleopatra's mother remains uncertain, but sources suggest she could have been either one of Ptolemy's concubines or even his sister wife, Cleopatra V. The practice of marrying close family members, such as cousins or siblings, was prevalent among Egyptian rulers, aimed at preserving the purity of bloodlines. Hence, it's conceivable that Cleopatra may have been a product of such familiar relationships, and Cleopatra's beauty wasn't her biggest asset. Roman propaganda painted Cleopatra as a debauched temptress who used her sex appeal as a political weapon, but she may have been more renowned for her intellect than her appearance. She spoke as many as a dozen languages and was educated in mathematics, philosophy, oratory, and astronomy, and Egyptian sources later described her as a ruler who elevated the ranks of scholars and enjoyed their company. There's also evidence that Cleopatra wasn't as physically striking as once believed. The ancient writer Plutarch claimed that Cleopatra's beauty was not altogether incomparable, and that it was instead her mellifluous speaking voice and irresistible charm that made her so desirable. According to legend, Cleopatra fashioned a vibrating device for self-pleasure by putting angry bees into a hollowed-out gourd. In other versions of the story, Cleopatra sat on top of a papyrus box of angry bees. If true, she's not the only Egyptian to bring animals into the bedroom. There were accounts of men engaging in intercourse with cattle, women doing the same with dogs, and Egyptians successfully figuring out how to do the deed with crocodiles. Crocodiles could also help prevent pregnancy. The animal's dung was a common contraceptive following Egyptian traditions. Cleopatra entered a marriage with her brother Ptolemy, the 13th after their father's demise in 51 BCE. Prior to his passing, their father had assigned Cleopatra and her brother as joint rulers, adhering to Egyptian law that demanded a male theo-regent alongside a female ruler. At the time of their union, Ptolemy was a mere 10 to 12 years old, a situation Cleopatra strategically capitalized on. Swiftly, she marginalized her brother's authority, authoring official documents solely in her name and imprinting her image onto coinage. Yet this dynamic shifted after approximately 3 years when Ptolemy compelled Cleopatra to go into exile. Fleeing to Syria, she employed her charm to captivate Julius Caesar, the Roman general. Through her persuasions, Caesar was convinced to restore her to the Egyptian throne. Ptolemy fled and met his eventual demise. Cleopatra and Mark Antony formed their own drinking club. Cleopatra first began her legendary love affair with the Roman general Mark Antony in 41 BCE. Their relationship had a political component. Cleopatra needed Antony to protect her crown and maintain Egypt's independence, while Antony needed access to Egypt's riches and resources. But they were also famously fond of each other's company. According to ancient sources, they spent the winter of 41 to 40 BCE living a life of leisure and excess in Egypt, and even formed their own drinking society known as the Inimitable Livers. The group engaged in nightly feasts and wine binges, and its members occasionally took part in elaborate games and contests. One of Antony and Cleopatra's favorite activities supposedly involved wandering the streets of Alexandria in disguise and playing pranks on its residents. Cleopatra is said to have hosted extensive celebrations that spanned multiple days and carried an air of sensuality. These gatherings were typically situated on the outskirts of Alexandria, likely influenced by the worship of the god Dionysus. Furthermore, these events often featured unconventional performances, including what could be termed as provocative shows, with participants dancing unclothed while enjoying an abundance of drinks. Opinions greatly vary regarding Cleopatra's physical appearance. According to Roman historians, she was described as a woman who displayed an impressive and perhaps even excessive pride in her beauty, and as having the beauty of a maiden. However, contrasting viewpoints abound concerning the authenticity of this beauty. Some attribute it to reality, while others consider it as a form of calculated promotion. Numismatic evidence represented by coins bearing Cleopatra's likeness implies that she had prominent facial features, including a sizable nose and chin. It's plausible that Cleopatra might have aimed to present herself in a manner that highlighted her authority over beauty, even if she did not possess the stunning allure often depicted in Hollywood. Her appeal lay in her ability to effectively utilize her charm, intellect, and shrewdness. She had a hand in the deaths of 3 of her siblings. Power grabs and murder plots were as much a Ptolemaic tradition as family marriage, and Cleopatra and her brothers and sisters were no different. Her first sibling husband, Ptolemy, ran her out of Egypt after she tried to take sole possession of the throne, and the pair later faced off in a civil war. Cleopatra regained the upper hand by teaming with Julius Caesar and Ptolemy, drowned in the Nile River after being defeated in battle. Following the war, Cleopatra remarried to her younger brother Ptolemy, but she is believed to have had him murdered in a bid to make her son her co-ruler. In 41 BCE, she also engineered the execution of her sister, Arsinoe, who she considered a rival to the throne. A 1963 film about her was one of the most expensive movies of all time. The Queen of the Nile has been portrayed on the silver screen by the likes of Claudette Colbert and Sophia Loren, but she was most famously played by Elizabeth Taylor in the year 1963 sword and sandal epic Cleopatra. The film was plagued by production problems and script issues, and its budget eventually soared from $2 million to $44 million, including some $200,000 just to cover the cost of Taylor's costumes. It was the most expensive movie ever made at the time of its release, and nearly bankrupted its studio despite raking in a fortune at the box office. If inflation is taken into account, Cleopatra remains one of the priciest movies in history even today. Let us know what you think about Queen of the Egypt in the comments section. And please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.